Don't be in a haste to scroll past this story. Take a moment to consider the weight of obedience, the cost of following a God whose ways are often beyond our comprehension. If you believe that choosing God above all else, even when it defies logic, is the path to true purpose, declare it in the comments. I will obey. Let your heart be open as we delve into a truly astonishing account from the life of the prophet Ezekiel. Imagine being ripped from your homeland, your family, and everything familiar. This was the reality for Ezekiel, a priest among the Jewish exiles in Babylon around 597 BC. The vibrant life of Jerusalem, centered around the majestic temple, was now a distant memory. Instead, Ezekiel found himself in a foreign land, surrounded by a culture that didn't know his God. Yet, it was here, in the depths of despair and displacement, that the Almighty chose to speak. Ezekiel's calling was anything but ordinary. The heavens themselves seemed to tear open, revealing breathtaking and terrifying visions, a whirlwind of fire, colossal wheels interwoven and spinning with divine purpose, and enigmatic creatures with faces looking in every direction. He witnessed the very glory of God, a sight that compelled him to fall prostrate in awe and trembling. And from this overwhelming encounter, a voice boomed, a divine commission echoing in the desolate land, "Son of man, I am sending you to the people of Israel, a rebellious nation." Ezekiel 2 verse 3. God's plan for Ezekiel was not just to deliver verbal prophecies. His very life was to become a living, breathing parable, a dramatic illustration of God's message to a stubborn people. He was instructed to perform a series of symbolic acts, lying on his side for hundreds of days to bear the iniquity of Israel and Judah, shaving his head and beard as a sign of utter devastation, and dividing the hair to represent the scattering and judgment to come. But then came a command so utterly bizarre, so viscerally unsettling, that it continues to shock and provoke thought even today. Listen closely. The Lord spoke again to Ezekiel, saying, "Take wheat and barley, beans and lentils, millet and spelt, put them in a storage jar and use them to make bread for yourself. You are to eat it during the 390 days you lie on your side. The food you eat will be limited to 20 shekels a day, and you are to eat it at set times. You are also to drink a limited amount of water, a sixth of a hin a day, and at set times. You are to eat the food as you would a barley cake, bake it in the sight of the people, using human excrement for fuel." Ezekiel 4 verses 9 to 12. Let that sink in. God, the Holy One, instructing his prophet to bake his sustenance over human waste. This wasn't just about survival, it was a profound and deeply disturbing symbol. God was painting a vivid picture of the utter defilement and humiliation that awaited Israel. They would be driven from their land, scattered among pagan nations, and forced to consume unclean food in their exile. It was a stark representation of the spiritual filth their idolatry and disobedience had brought upon them. Even Ezekiel, a man who had already witnessed the extraordinary and accepted a difficult calling, recoiled at this command. His humanity cried out. He pleaded with the sovereign Lord, "Not so, sovereign Lord. I have never defiled myself. From my youth until now I have never eaten anything found dead or torn by wild animals. No impure meat has ever entered my mouth." Ezekiel 4 verse 14. In his boundless mercy and understanding of human frailty, God relented, offering a slight concession. "Very well," he said, "I will let you use cow dung instead of human excrement." Ezekiel 4 verse 15. Even with this allowance, the core message remains searingly clear: the judgment of God was severe, the consequences of turning away from him were real, and the defilement of sin had profound and tangible effects. This wasn't about the literal act of baking bread over dung, it was about spiritual purity. It was about the chasm that sin had created between God and his people, a stench so offensive that it demanded such drastic imagery. Ezekiel's willingness to obey this shocking command became a powerful, visual sermon to a nation that had grown deaf to prophetic warnings and hardened their hearts against their Creator. Yet, the story of Ezekiel is not solely one of judgment. Even amidst these stark pronouncements, a radiant thread of hope ran through his prophecies. This same Ezekiel, who baked bread in such a humiliating way, would later be granted a vision of a valley overflowing with dry bones, lifeless and scattered. And by the breath of God, these bones would come together, be covered with flesh, and rise as a mighty army, a powerful symbol of Israel's future resurrection and restoration. He would speak of a new covenant, a new heart, and a new spirit that God would place within his people. The unbelievable command given to Ezekiel holds profound lessons for us today. First, God's instructions often transcend human logic. They may seem strange, uncomfortable, or even foolish in the eyes of the world. But obedience, even when we don't fully understand, demonstrates a deep trust in His wisdom and sovereignty. Ezekiel didn't wait for comfort or logical explanation, he simply followed the divine voice. Second, our lives are powerful testimonies. Just as Ezekiel's actions spoke volumes, our choices, our behaviors, and our willingness to step outside our comfort zones for God can be a powerful sermon to those around us. Are we willing to let God use our lives, even in unconventional ways, to point others to Him? Third, sin has far-reaching and defiling consequences. God used shocking imagery to awaken His people from their spiritual apathy. We must recognize the seriousness of sin and its potential to corrupt individuals and even entire societies. Fourth, God's judgment is always tempered with mercy. Even when delivering harsh pronouncements, God heard Ezekiel's plea and offered a degree of relief. His heart is one of compassion, and He always provides a path back to Himself for those who are willing to turn. Ezekiel's story reminds us that following God is not always a clean, easy, or glamorous path. Sometimes it requires us to embrace the uncomfortable, the unconventional, and even the seemingly humiliating. But it is in that very obedience, in choosing God over our own preferences and the world's expectations, that we tap into the very power of heaven. If this incredible account has resonated within you, if you are willing to choose obedience over comfort, purpose over popularity, and God over everything, then declare it boldly in the comments, "I will obey." Let this generation know that in every age, God calls forth those who will follow Him, no matter how strange the call. If this story has stirred your spirit and left you in awe of God's power in the depth of obedience, don't scroll away without hitting like, sharing this with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribing for more true and dramatic Bible stories that will challenge and inspire you. Trust us, the incredible stories within the Bible are far from boring, and you won't want to miss what we uncover next.